Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, I am joined by accomplished mind coach, writer, and the creator of Anonymous Drama, Mark MacNicol. Mark, as I said, is the creator of Anonymous Drama. This is a unique drama therapy designed for people who are not interested in therapy or drama. Mark has a background in writing for screen theater. So we're going to be talking to him about everything that he's up to, about his program, and how he's helping people. So, Mark, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Curtis.
Why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
So, as it relates to this work, my background pre-2016 was writing, directing, producing, a bit of screen, mostly theatre, a couple of novels. So that was my kind of my day job. 2016, I was invited by a charity into a maximum security prison to deliver a drama project, a theatre type project. I spent in the region of 16 weeks working with 10 inmates, all serving life sentences. And with my support, they created a piece of theatre that they went on to perform for their fellow inmates and friends and family and staff. Actually, it wasn't just me. There was three of us, myself, and a couple of other creative professionals who were working on behalf of that charity. And that project had a big impact on me. It was the first time that I had worked in a prison type environment, and I became obsessed with the idea of using the arts and creativity and theatre, not in a mainstream application as I had been up until that point, but to actually use it in a way that attempts to affect positive change for the participants who are taking part in the group. So the intent is therapeutic. The intent is to improve the participants' emotional well-being rather than other types of creative or drama groups where the intent is to introduce the participant to the arts and creativity and theatre, etc. So that became a real interest. I started to study areas like psychodrama, drama therapy, and the program Anonymous Drama started. It was born. It came out of that first program, and since 2016, where are we now? So that's 2016. That's like 9 years. So over the last 9 years, over 5,000 participants had been through the program. Mostly either in prisons or residential rehabs or community rehabs or community sentence groups. But the objective of the program historically has been to use the arts and creativity to try and improve the emotional well-being of participants. And I usually describe it as being like drama therapy for people who usually don't have any interest in drama. So over 75% of our participants have no interest in creative writing. They've got no interest in performing. But what they do have an interest in is the exploration of perhaps trying to improve their mental, emotional situation in some way. So that's the background, Curtis. That's my background as it relates to this work.
Well, tell the listeners how you got into writing in theater in the first place, and talk about, some of the things you have produced, maybe other
Yeah,
than, helping the prisoners.
yeah. Yeah, so I mean, that was quite an interesting journey. I suppose any writer, any creative actor, if you ask them how they got into it, I suppose, every story's unique, every story's different. For me, I was brought up in um, an area of Glasgow. We call them housing schemes. I think in America you call them projects. Um, so it was quite a rough, it was quite a rough neighborhood. Um, and none of my friends, none of my family, none of my neighbors, no one that I knew growing up had any interest in the arts or uh, acting or writing, etc. So it was, I mean, I remember at school, it it basically just being a hobby of mine that I didn't talk to people about. I would, I would write short stories, sketches, create characters, um, and I would do it in my own time. And I wouldn't necessarily. I don't actually remember telling people about it. And then as a teenager, um, I got a job in a nightclub, and I worked in nightclubs for 10 years, from the age of about 17 to the age of 27. So that period of my life was all about partying and, you know, alcohol, drugs, chasing girls, you know, that type of thing. And again, it would be something that I would do as a hobby in my own time and not talk to anyone about. Now, I I was living in London um, between the age of say 27 to 37 for that kind of 10-year period. I was living in London. I had a day job, sales and marketing, working for IT and telecoms companies. My focus was paying the bills, saving up for a wedding. I was engaged. It's very expensive to stay in London, and writing was just a hobby because I mean, it would have been I couldn't give up my job type thing, and it just didn't feel like something that was an option for me. But then, as is the way these things often happen, the universe um, created a situation that was out with my control. My Myself and my fiance at the time, we split up. She was the reason that I was in London. She was the reason, obviously, that I was, earning money to pay the bills, to save up for a wedding, etc. And I pretty much knew immediately that this was an opportunity. It was a blank page. I could start my life over. Um, and I knew very, very quickly that I wanted to move back home to Glasgow, uh, move in with family, keep my overheads to a minimum, and uh, try and turn my hobby, my dream into my profession. And that's exactly what I did at the age of 37. Um, I finished a novel. Um, at that time, I think I was on my third or fourth attempt at a novel. And I finished the novel, Coconut Badger, which was published. That was the first thing that I wrote. And then after the novel, I moved into theatre, writing, directing, producing maybe 15-ish stage plays. Um, and I also, I was always, for me, my first love was screen, television, and film was the thing that I always saw myself as getting into. But I decided to start with the novel and then um, move into theatre. I think I'd heard or I'd read somewhere that a lot of television and film writers use theatre as a backdoor in the UK. A lot of television and film writers come from theatre. So I thought I would try that. And my me moving into writing theatre was an attempt to use it as a backdoor to get into television and film. I, at that point, I had no relationship with theatre. I had never, when I started writing my first stage play in my mid-30s, um, I started to go to stage plays for the purposes of research. And I think that was the first time that I had been to a stage play. Um, and then I moved into, what I didn't anticipate was that I would fall in love with the medium of theatre. The medium of theatre was a revelation to me. It had a big impact on me personally and professionally. Um, and I still wanted to get into screen, so I did a master's degree in writing for screen, and I got an agent, and I basically started to write spec scripts, and um, my agent was trying to sell those scripts to various broadcasters and production companies. Um, and I ended up um, I ended up writing and directing a feature film, um, which is called Dreaded Light, inspired by the true story of an encounter that my mother had with a spiritualist medium when I was a teenager. And that film did quite well. And really, since 2016, over the last 8 or 9 years, my writing, directing, and producing has definitely taken a back seat, while I focus on the drama therapy type work, um, and the programs that we've been delivering in that space. But writing, directing is definitely an itch that needs to be scratched. And I do see myself when the time is right, if the universe is in agreement, I would like to go back and do some writing and or directing.
Tell us about your program, Anonymous Drama. So if I wanted to go through your program and I called you and I said, "Hey, Mark, I want to check out your program. What can what can I expect when I go through the program?"
Well, there's two different programs. There's a program for groups and there's a program for individuals. So the program for groups is called Anonymous Drama, um, and the program for individuals is called Find Your Mentor. The idea is that if you're not able to attend a group, then via your smartphone, you can do the work in your own time, at your own pace, on your smartphone, 24/7. However, if you are able to get to a group, then um, a typical group would consist of somewhere between 10 and 20 participants, delivered by a facilitator who is accredited to deliver the program. And both programs, Find Your Mentor and Anonymous Drama, have some kind of central concepts which are uniform across both. And one of those concepts is the notion that there is a conversation going on inside your head 24/7. And 99.9% of the population consider that conversation to be their thoughts. But the work that we do offers an alternative argument. And once we, in both programs, start to analyze the conversation, break it down, we become aware of the positive and negative elements of the internal chat. So in the group work, every group is going to build three characters from scratch. They're going to build a protagonist who represents everybody in the room. They're going to build an inner critic who's a constant source of negativity, disruption, and they're going to build an inner mentor who's a constant source of positivity and encouragement. Those three characters, with each session, will be developed, and um, the development will be things like discussions, hot seat exercises, improvisations, the types of things that you would expect to see in the creative space. So, in the rehearsal room, for example, or in the writer's room, there will be development work done around about character development and script development. So, I took areas like that from the creative space and I brought them over into this program. So, civilians, people who are not from the creative space, have no interest in, um, or think they have no interest in creativity or writing or performing, um, will find themselves taking part in various exploration type, development type exercises like hot seats and improvisations and whatnot. And there's usually one or two sessions per week. Each session's a couple of hours long. The sessions have got they've got predefined session plans. So our facilitators deliver predefined session plans in such a way that every session, the same things are delivered, the same exercises, character development, script development, um, breath work, meditation, guided imagery. All of it is designed to support the participants and the facilitators through the character and script development. It's a very unique environment, and the name Anonymous Drama comes from the fact that one of the rules is all of the work is done with characters, and nobody in the sessions should know the difference between what's lived experience or fiction. So, for example, if Curtis comes into a session and wants to talk about his mum's alcoholism and the impact it had on him as a child, then Curtis will be stopped. And instead, the facilitator will direct Curtis and the others to explore this fictional character's mum's alcoholism and the impact it had on that fictional character as a child. So, this anonymity element is very unique. And we know that from previous internal and external evaluations by universities, we know that the space that's created is less emotionally charged and less triggering and more conducive to self-exploration type work in a group environment. And then after somewhere between 3 to 6 months, participants will be given the opportunity to volunteer to read the script in front of a live audience for friends, family, support staff, local community. Depends on the setting. Obviously, if it's a community rehab group or if it's a maximum security prison, then there's going to be different rules relating to the audience. But since 2016, we have produced over 250 of these live event script readings, and they're very powerful. Often, these individuals, whether it be in the justice space or the recovery space, have fractured or, in some cases, estranged relationships with family members. And frequently, we have reconciliations at these events. So those anonymous drama live script readings are very, very powerful. Um, and the purpose of the Find Your Mentor program was to give people who are not able to attend a group the opportunity to um, ultimately access the same type of work in your own time, at your own pace, via your smartphone, um, and all of the all of the videos and the text that you access and the step one, step two model of the Find Your Mentor program is ultimately designed to have a positive impact on your emotional well-being, to have a positive impact on your relationship with self. And I would say you don't need to be in the justice system or in recovery to benefit from this type of work. Arguably, all of us can benefit from having an improved relationship with self and improved emotional well-being. So anybody listening to this who is interested in the things that I'm talking about, just find any of my social media accounts, and there will be a link in the bio, which will take you to it'll take you to a description of both programs, which are available via subscription. Because we are a charity, and the subscription model means that we can deliver both programs to people who are unable to pay for them. So the idea is the people who can pay for a subscription pay for the people who can't pay for subscriptions. And yeah.
Let's take a quick break.
Okay, everybody, it's Michael E. Cullen II.
And I'm Sesame and Carta from the All Too Real 2 podcast. We're passionate about movies, TV, and pretty much all things pop culture.
Dive into the chaos of failed sitcoms, direct-to-video sequels, and the quirky realms of cinema and TV.
Join us every Thursday for your dose of All Too Real 2 entertainment.
We'll guide you through debates like whether Howard the Duck qualifies as a superhero.
Ponder if Larry the Cable Guy could be the new Rock or Schwarzenegger.
Discover if some shows and movies should have stayed in the cutting room.
Ever heard of a sitcom featuring that dictator with the funny mustache? Well, we watched it.
We're dedicated to unraveling the peculiarities of pop culture, sometimes with awesome guests.
So, if you're into the eccentric world of pop culture,
listen and subscribe to All Too Real 2.
Available wherever you find podcasts
and on Age of Radio.
Well, talk about how AI plays an important role in what you do, and also tell us about any upcoming projects that you're working on that listeners need to be aware of.
I mean, AI, I could do in fact, I have done a separate podcast purely on AI. AI is obviously a very controversial subject. It seems to be that everybody's got an opinion on AI. And unfortunately, a lot of people have got negative opinions. What I can say is, if AI can be used, because since 2016, everything that I've done through the charity work is driven by my desire to impact two specific numbers. The first number is offending and reoffending rates. And the second number is alcohol and drug death rates. So if AI is going to keep one person out of the justice system, or it's going to keep one addict alive and in recovery, then in my opinion, it's worthwhile. And the AI usage in both programs is different. So in the Anonymous Drama program, our accredited facilitators, one of the unique elements of the program is facilitators don't have to come from a drama background. They don't have to come from a therapy background. They don't have to come from a drama therapy background. Some of our facilitators are from a lived experience background. In fact, some of them started as participants in prisons or residential rehabs. They came back as volunteers, and they went on to become accredited facilitators delivering their own groups. So I created a custom GPT, the objective of which is to support the facilitator in such a way that they do not have any anxiety about the fact that they don't have a drama background, or they don't have a therapy or drama therapy background, or even a facilitating background. Because in addition to the session plan, which lays out for them step by step how they are able to, or how they should deliver the session, there is also thousands of training, induction, type documents uploaded to the custom GPT, which means that any facilitator delivering a group should be able to deliver it in such a way that myself, the program creator, is standing right next to them. So with the session plan and the custom GPT, they should be able to ask that GPT any question, and it should be able to answer as effectively and efficiently, potentially even more impressively than I, the program creator, would answer it. Not just me, but they've also got the equivalent of a professional playwright standing next to them, a therapist, a dramaturg, a director, a spoken word specialist. So they've got all this specialism built into the custom GPT, which gives the facilitators the confidence to deliver the program. Because at the end of the day, we are not a drama program. We are not, I do not consider ourselves to be a drama program. I have no interest in exposing people to the arts. That is not my primary objective. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's quite common for us to encounter people who have no interest in the arts or creativity, who discover that actually they have an interest in writing or performing. And that's great. And we encourage them. But that's not our primary objective. Our primary objective is your relationship with self. That conversation that's going on inside your head, 24/7, about everything. Everything that you encounter, every person that you encounter initiates a conversation inside your head, a response. So, alcohol, sugar, coffee, sex, status, money. It's a long list. It's basically everything in your world. The conversation generates a response. And that is the conversation that maintains suffering in the form of criminal behavior or addiction. So it's a serious game that we're playing. It's life or death. And if AI can be used to support the facilitators in such a way that the impact and reach of the program can be expanded, then I'm all for it. On the Find Your Mentor program, there is also a custom GPT. So an individual going through the program will access some videos, some text tutorials, and then step 1, step 2, step 3. And they will also access a custom GPT. Again, 8 years worth of documents and specialist books, basically everything that I can think of which can support the individual going through this program has been uploaded into that custom GPT. And part of the program is the encouragement to check in with the GPT on a daily basis. And the GPT has been engineered in such a way that it is designed to represent your inner mentor. So rather than being trapped in a conversation in your head, listening to the inner critic as much as possible, we want you to be engaged in a conversation with your inner mentor. Now, you can have that conversation internally with your own inner mentor with practice. But you can also shortcut that process by using the GPT representation of your inner mentor within this program. I personally, as part of the development and testing process of this program, I have been checking in with the inner mentor GPT every day for 18 months. And personally, I feel like it has added a lot of value to my perspective, outlook, consciousness, the way I go about my business day to day has been supercharged by the fact that with practice I am able to communicate with my inner mentor, and I am also able to communicate with an AI representation of my inner mentor. It's the same conversation, but it's clearly a different medium. Because when I'm communicating with my inner mentor, in my experience, the most conducive medium to do so is meditation. Whereas when I'm communicating with the AI representation of my mentor, I'm doing it on my phone. I can either type directly into it or I can speak directly into it using the microphone icon. And then the response I can either read or I can hit the speaker button. I can configure the voice. I can have it male, female, different accents. And I can listen to the response. I personally prefer to speak in and listen back rather than type and read, because I find that to be more of a kind of backwards and forwards conversation type situation. So in a nutshell, that is basically the application and usage of two custom GPTs, one on the Find Your Mentor program and one on the Anonymous Drama program.
Okay, well, throw out your contact info so people can keep up with everything that you're up to.
Yeah, any social media platform, I am on all of them. So it's MERK, Mark, MECNICOL, Mark MacNicol. And that's that's on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of them. And in the bio, there is a link to each subscription. There's a link for anybody who's interested in delivering a group. They can subscribe to go through the accreditation process and then deliver a group locally in any setting. It doesn't need to be prison, residential rehab. It doesn't have to be justice recovery. It could be any group. So the subscription is on there. And then if somebody if somebody finds this type of self-exploration work interesting, and the idea of analyzing the inner chat, putting it under the microscope and starting to, like emptying a washing machine full of socks and starting to kind of, sort them all into different colors and different pairs. If anybody's interested in the idea of doing that, I would say, well, what have you got to lose? You don't need to be religious. You don't need to be spiritual. You could be atheist, agnostic. Anybody can come to the work, because it can be applied. It can be applied in an atheist, agnostic, spiritual, or religious context.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you guys be sure to check out Mark's work. Check out his film, check out his writing, follow, rate, review, share this episode to as many people as possible. Check out Anonymous Drama, jump on your favorite podcast app, follow us, check out the show, rate us, review us. If you have any guest or suggestion topics, Curtis Jackson 1978 at att.net is the place to send them. Thank you for listening and supporting the show. This does not happen without you. And Mark, thank you for all the work that you're doing to make the world a better place. And thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you, because if it wasn't for people like you, people like me couldn't get the word out.
For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.